welcome back. Today I want to talk about the idea of self-love versus not self-loathing. Another way to look at this might be the idea of telling ourselves positive affirmations and that it's understood that doing that is helpful. And I agree that telling yourself positive things as opposed to negative things is better. However, in my experience working with clients, that positive affirmations can really be a challenge. Another way to look at it is self-love, being able to love yourself like you might love someone else can be really difficult to grasp. And there's probably a variety of reasons for that. That's beyond the scope of this video. Where I think the challenge lies is that a lot of times where the issue is, it's not the lack of positive self-talk. It's not the needing to love yourself. That is in many ways a bridge too far. That is a very lofty goal. And it can be very frustrating to have someone tell you, well, just think positive things. And it's either really not possible, it's not realistic, you've never learned how to do that, you don't know what that is like. And a lot of the issues really can fall in not so much that aspect as it is that the things you tell yourself tend to be negative. Instead of self-love, there's self-loathing. Instead of self-affirmations, there's self-deprecation. So just like you may have heard before, that the goal in life sometimes is not to be happy, but to not be unhappy. Likewise, the goal, but particularly if you're working in therapy, the idea isn't so much to be in an area of self-love as it is that you're not self-loathing. And often if I can help clients move the needle a little bit closer to at least being neutral about yourself, or maybe recognizing the negative thought and then challenging those, that is pretty good. Then that means that they're moving away from a lot of negative self-talk, a lot of self-loathing, and you can get a lot of relief with that. So if you think of this like on a spectrum, and on one end you have people who are deeply in self-loathing, where they really see themselves as the worst. They are just the worst human being out there. There's no value to them, and they really can't find a positive thing to say about themselves. That's on one extreme. But it's a continuum, it's a spectrum, and then the other extreme can be extreme self-love, which is you think you're better than everybody else, and it's more a place of conceit and too much self-importance. And then somewhere in the middle is where it's kind of neutral, where you don't think that you're the best, you don't think that you're the worst, but you're okay with yourself. So what that might look like in terms of therapy is often someone is coming into therapy and they are too far into the side of self-loathing or self-deprecation. They're not able to see their positive qualities. Maybe they've had a number of things happen in their life recently or throughout the past that they have taken to mean that they are not worthy. And before we can even start talking about some of the more positive thoughts, like saying I am worthy, I am a good person, I am of value, we got to get that needle, we got to move through it. You can't really jump to have less negative thoughts about yourself, maybe be neutral, like you don't think you're doing well necessarily, but you don't think you're doing poorly either. You can just recognize what you're doing. That would be more neutral. And then after that, after you're able to be in a neutral space for a while or spend less time in negative space, then we can really start moving into some of the more positive self-talk, more of the self-love. And this is important because otherwise, if you're really not believing it, if you're really not feeling it, then they're just words. It's like being able to pronounce another language that you don't understand beautifully, but you have no idea what the words mean. You're not really connecting, you're not really communicating, you're just saying things. So if you have a difficult time sometimes connecting with self-affirmations, you find them frustrating, you don't find them helpful, I don't know if it's really that there's anything wrong with you. I think this is part of the process that you go through. So if someone is saying to you, think positive, say these affirmations, and you're really not connecting with that, I don't think you're being difficult. I don't think that you just don't want it bad enough or anything like that. It's just that it's too much too fast, and you need to move through these other steps and be less likely to be negative towards yourself, and then get used to that, and then it's easier to actually say positive things. Realistically, we probably want to be in about a neutral place regarding ourselves. So we can step over a bit into being positive, we can be proud of ourselves, we can recognize our strengths, we can recognize our accomplishments, we can take care of ourselves and not feel guilty about it. And we don't have to step very far into being positive for that. That's not anything extreme. Stepping it over into negative in a way that's helpful is to evaluate your own behavior and see, well, could I have done that better? What could I have done to do it better? And instead of having guilt and shame and all of those kinds of things, you may regret something you've done, you may feel remorse, and that's about it. And then you recognize that, and then from there you recognize your mistakes, and then you move on from it. And since it's impossible for us to never make mistakes, we're always going to have to be doing that. We're always in a process of doing good things that we want to be doing, pro-social things, and we're always going to be making mistakes, inconveniencing others, overreacting to something. I mean, we're human beings. We're not going to be perfect. So we're going to be kind of going back and forth. But really the goal is to be more in a neutral place so that you're close enough to either one that you can use both the positive thinking, the self-love, the affirmations to your advantage, and to recognize your value and your worth, but also to be able to recognize some of the behaviors that cause you some issues and be reflective and see what you can do different next time. Well, that's all I had to say today. My name is Bethany Brunn. I'm a licensed mental health counselor, and I hope today's message helped you to get back to you. Bye. Take care.